So hopefully we can keep the commercial a little shorter today. I just want to talk to you a little bit about belonging. Everyone needs a place to belong, a place that fits you like your favorite pair of jeans, that's as welcoming as your much loved and much worn recliner at home. That's the way we're made. Not to be isolated, not to be alone, but to be together, experiencing life and others. And yet Vance Packard called America a nation of strangers. And he said studies show that 4 out of 10 people experience feelings of intense loneliness. 40% of the people. Our American culture produces people who more closely identify with characters on a weekly TV show than they do with their next door neighbors. Everywhere you look, there are signs that people need fellowship, community, and a sense of family. Every week, a sweet little old lady waited in line in the post office to buy 2 stamps. One day, as she got to the counter, the postal worker told her, you know, you don't have to wait in line to buy those stamps. There's a machine right over there. You can get 20 at a time. And the old lady responded, well, yes, but the machine doesn't ask me about my arthritis. After we retired, Barb and I joined 3 other couples to play cards and get together for friendship once a month or so. After our last get-together with everyone, a week ago, we all received this email from one of the couples. We really enjoyed getting together with everyone last night. There's nothing more valuable. This happens every time. There's nothing more valuable than good friends and lots of laughs. Being the ones late to the party, so to speak, since we've lived our lives in other places. It's been special to come home to Delavan and have good lifelong friends come back into our lives almost as if we were never gone. We've been welcomed so warmly. It's a real reminder of what is really important. And this is the way it should feel coming to church. People long to be connected. The Bible uses a lot of metaphors to describe church, but the most persistent is that of family. In the New Testament, believers call each other brothers and sisters. And in his letter to the church in Ephesus, Paul writes, now you are not foreigners or strangers any longer, but are citizens together with God's holy people. You belong to God's family. You can find that in Ephesians chapter 2. Now maybe there's a pew in your home church worn in the shape of your bottom. Maybe you're as comfortable in your church family as you are in your favorite pajamas. On the other hand, maybe you've never felt like you really belong somewhere.
How's it?
Maybe you've never known the blessing of being a part of something as big as the family of God. Either way, I'd like to share with you something that Solomon once wrote about the benefits of belonging. And that's our Bible verse for today. It's in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. Solomon says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other one up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. In his unparalleled wisdom, King Solomon says, 2 people are better than 1. And then he goes on to describe the benefits of belonging. And the first one he mentions is strength. Belonging to a church family provides strength. Let's look at the first verse again, which says 2 people are better than 1 because they get more done by working together. Solomon had discovered a principle that holds true for all of time. None of us can do alone what all of us can do together. I'll repeat that. None of us can None of us can do alone what all of us can do together. There's strength in numbers. You may have seen the old Peanuts cartoon where Lucy walks into the room and demands of her brother Linus to turn the TV station. She doesn't like it. And Linus says, well, what makes you think you can walk in here and take over? These 5 fingers, said Lucy. Individually, they're nothing. But when I curl them together like this, they become a force to be reckoned with. What channel do you want, says Linus. Turn away, he looks at his fingers and he says, why can't you guys get organized? It's the power of teamwork. At our church, it seems like there are never enough volunteers to go around. None of us can do everything, but all of us can do something. You know, the Jerusalem church in the book of Acts was a hodgepodge of believers from a variety of backgrounds and different personalities. And sometimes they had conflicting opinions. Yet they found a way to work together. They understood their strength in numbers, and because they did, they were changed. History was changed. And as you follow their example, you'll have the same results. Whether you want to help feed the hungry, or house the homeless, or rebuild hurricane-ravaged towns, or clean up your community, or share the gospel, and we've done all of those here at this church. None of us can do alone what all of us can do together. Belonging to God's family provides us with the strength to get more done by working together. So we get strength by coming to church. That's number one. The second benefit we get is support. Belonging to a church family provides support. Again, King Solomon put it this way: 2 are better off than 1. Because if one of them falls down, the other is there to help them up. But if someone is alone and falls, it's too bad. There's no one there to help them. You know what it's like to get knocked down? I'm sure you all do. We all have our troubles, right? Reminds me, maybe Pastor Mike has seen this in some while. It says of the army chaplain who had a sign on his door that said, if you have troubles, come in and tell me about them. If you don't have any troubles, come in and tell me how you do it. And those of you that read the comics in the newspapers probably seen Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin gets dressed up in special school clothes. He goes to school. First thing he does is sits on some bubble gum. He gets beat up by a bully. He fails a test at school. He gets rained on during the trip home. And at bedtime, he turns to his stuffed tiger Hobbes and he says, some days even my lucky rocket ship underpants don't help.
Yepper.
And we all have days like that, don't we?
Amen.
And Jesus promised us that we would. He said, in this world you'll have trouble. Well, what did he say next? In John 16, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Jesus is all about helping people up, isn't he? Peter tried to walk on the water out to the boat, started sinking like a rock. Jesus reached out, took him by the hand, and helped him back to the boat. When the woman got caught in adultery, he could have been the first one to knock her down. Could have kicked her. But instead, he reached out his hand and he lifted her up. He gave her a fresh start. That's what we're supposed to do for one another. The Bible in Galatians chapter 6 says, help carry each other's burdens. In this way you will follow Christ's teaching. We all have burdens to bear and bad days to endure. And some days even wearing your lucky underpants won't help. But having a church family that cares about us and is willing to lift you up whenever you fall down, that will help. Belonging to God's family provides us with the strength to get more done and the support we need to get through troubled times. So support and strength, we get those from church attendance. A third benefit, belonging to a church family provides us, is spiritual warmth. In our verse today, it said 2 people are better off than 1. For 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can 1 be warm alone? Well, this is probably practical advice for someone who gets lost out in the woods and you want to stay warm, but it's also a spiritual metaphor. You don't have to live in a tent in the tundra to feel cold and alone. Anytime one of God's children gets separated from the family, our fire starts to go out and spirits grow cold. The Bible says, let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. One of the most important reasons the church meets together every Sunday is to stir people up, to get you going. A pastor went to visit a man who had been absent from church for some time. When the pastor arrived at the house of the wayward parishioner, he found him sitting by a fire of glowing coals. The man fully expected his pastor to take him to task for his tardy attendance at services. But instead, the pastor drew up a chair alongside the fireplace where the man was sitting and just peered into the fire. Eventually, with the tongs, the pastor reached into the fire and took one of the red-hot coals out of the fire, and he placed it on the hearth by itself. In no time at all, the coal began to lose its glow, and in a few minutes it was cold and dark. The man looked into the face of his pastor, who hadn't said a word, and he said, "I'll be there next Sunday." He understood what Solomon was saying. That warmth you feel inside your chest as we worship here today, that's your coals being stirred. That's your passion for Jesus, your love for God, and for people being rekindled. When you first gave your heart to Jesus, He lit a fire in your soul. Belonging to a church family that you worship with and fellowship with fans those flames and keeps you spiritually warm. Everyone needs a place where they belong, where people smile when you arrive and say, "See you soon" when you leave. Maybe your family's far away. Maybe you're feeling alone. Or maybe you could just use a new friend or two. God doesn't call us to believe. He also calls us to belong. The entire Bible is the story of God building a family that will support, strengthen, and stir one another up to love and good works for all eternity. And He created you to be a part of it. So if you're a believer in need of a place to belong, like those who became members today, please talk to one of your neighbors here. Get connected with a church family. If you've never joined God's family, Pastor Mike or I would love to talk with you about being born again. Believe me, there's nothing like belonging to God's family. So as we stand and sing, if there's any way I or Pastor Mike can help you find a place to belong, please come and talk to us. All right, are we back where we belong? I have a little song here that the words will appear on the screen, and hopefully magically you will stand up and sing along with the song. It's pretty easy to follow. We'll sing this together.